will be a quick introduction into critical values for this next chapter, also known as Z star. Now we're going to be dealing with a lot of Z's in this little intro, but don't catch too many Z's like Grandma over here, or you might miss the lesson. Now my definition of a critical value, or Z-score, is the plus or minus Z-score for a given central area. So I'll give you this central area. We got the zebra here, and you'll have a negative Z to the left and a positive Z to the right, and we'll just kind of combine that and make it a Z star, and we'll move on. So here's a few examples. Let's say that I have a approximately normal distribution, and I want to know the critical value for 90%. All right, so the middle is 90%. Boom, boom, and I want to calculate Z star. Now, there's a negative Z here, and if you know anything about the normal distribution, you know that it's symmetric, and that I'll have the same Z score over on this side, but positive. Okay, now I know the whole area is 1. If I subtract the 90% from 1, I'm left with 10%. That's this tail, and that's this tail. Now I only want one tail because then I can type it in inverse normal and get the negative Z score. So I'm actually going to cut that in half and get 0.05 and 0.05. So to get the critical value for 90%, I'm going to inverse normal 0.05. I'm going to type that right in my calculator, inverse normal 0.05, and get negative 1.64. Now, Z star is always positive. So this is really going to have a negative 1.64, and this is going to have a positive 1.64. So my Z star in this case is 1.64. So for any 90% area, central area, I'm going to have a Z star critical value of 1.64. Okay, we move on. Let's say that I'm talking about the middle 95%. All right, so I've got 95% in the middle. I've got my negative Z here, positive Z here. I know the whole thing adds up to 1, so I'm going to subtract that. 1 minus 0.9 gives me 0.05. That's both tails. All right, I only want one tail, so I'm going to divide that by 2. And I'm going to get 0.025 and 0.025. Now I want to get the Z star, or rather the Z score first, so I'm going to inverse normal, basically half of the leftover area, which is 0.025. That's the area to the left right here. And whatever I get from that number, inverse normal, 0.025. And that's going to give me negative 1.96. Negative 1.96. Now remember, my critical value, or Z score, is just the positive version of that, so it's going to be 1.96. Think about it as negative 1.96 here, 1.96 here. We just call it 1.96. You can do that for any area. Those numbers aren't going to change for each area. Now, those are the two most common. Well, there's one more common one, and it's the middle 99%, okay, which obviously is a little bit bigger area in the middle. I take 1 minus 99, and I get 0.01. I cut that in half. I get 0.005. That's the single tail area, 0.005. Now, I can get the negative Z by inverse normal, 0.005. I type that right in my calculator. Inverse normal, 0.005. And you will get negative 2.58. So my critical value Z star is just 2.58. Now, those are the three most common critical values that we will deal with. I could do this for any number using the same process. I subtract the area from 1, cut it in half, and that will give me the single tail area. Single tail area, I take that area, I inverse normal it, I get the negative Z score, I make it positive, and I've got my critical value.